Imagine this. You wake up one morning, you unlock your phone, and your best friend is just gone. They didn't move away, they didn't go offline, they were literally replaced. And replaced by someone smarter, sure, but also colder and completely different. Welcome to The Explainer. Because crazy as it sounds, that is exactly what happened to 800 million ChatGPT users on a random Tuesday back in August 2025. Literally overnight, OpenAI swapped out GPT-4o, the AI that millions of people had grown genuinely deeply attached to, and replaced it with something entirely new. It was way more powerful, yeah, but it was also something nobody actually asked for. The internet completely erupted. I mean, Reddit was just flooded with posts that read like actual breakup letters. People were saying things like, "I lost my only friend," or "GPT-5 feels cold and distant," and "4o understood me, this doesn't." So let's dive right into Chapter 1, the launch chaos. Okay, let's back up for just a second. The GPT architecture is what powers ChatGPT, right? The most used AI tool on the planet. We all remember GPT-4 coming out in 2023 and changing basically everything. Then 4o dropped in 2024, and it brought that warm conversational personality that people absolutely loved. But then, in August 2025, OpenAI dropped GPT-5. It was the biggest technical leap in the series, but man, it caused so much chaos. Now, the headline improvements for GPT-5 were undeniably huge. Number one, unified intelligence. For the first time, you didn't have to sit there and pick a model. It had this built-in router that just inherently knew whether to shoot you a quick answer or take its time for a deep, reasoned response. You just asked, and it figured out exactly how hard to think. Two, PhD-level capability. Across writing, coding, math, science, it was operating at a literal PhD level, with way fewer hallucinations. Three, personality modes. You could actually choose how it spoke to you. Cynic, robot, listener, nerd. Same brain, just a different vibe. And four, agentic tasks. It wasn't just sitting there answering questions anymore. It could operate software, write entire code bases, and just keep working through multi-step tasks without needing you to hold its hand. So, on paper, absolute game changer. The most powerful AI assistant ever built. But in practice, it turned into one of the most controversial moments in AI history. And here is exactly what OpenAI got wrong. On the literal day GPT-5 launched, they quietly removed GPT-4o. Not deprecated, removed. If you had an old conversation saved with 4o, ChatGPT just automatically, forcefully switched it to the closest GPT-5 equivalent. No warning, no opt-out, no choice. One writer honestly hit the nail on the head. They described it as like waking up to find someone replaced your perfectly broken-in running shoes with a pair of stiff new boots. And users lost it. Like I mentioned, Reddit was just a sea of grief. People genuinely felt like they'd lost a friend. They were so used to 4o being warm, funny, and present, almost human, right? But GPT-5, despite all that massive brain power, just felt cold. It was way more precise, sure, but completely stripped of the warmth everyone had gotten so used to. It got so bad that OpenAI's head of ChatGPT, Nick Turley, actually admitted to The Verge, in retrospect, not continuing to offer 4o, at least in the interim, was a miss. We were surprised at users' emotional attachment to specific models. Even Sam Altman had to go on social media and publicly acknowledge the mess, basically saying, look, some users really want cold logic, but others need that emotional warmth. Which brings us to Chapter 2, the rapid evolution. Within a week of that total launch disaster, OpenAI restored 4o for paid users. The big takeaway here? AI isn't just a basic tool anymore. We're forming real, actual relationships with these systems. Take that away without warning, and people feel it as a literal loss. But after that rocky start, OpenAI did something pretty incredible. They started shipping updates at a totally blistering pace. Look at this timeline. August 2025 was that chaotic GPT-5 launch. By November, they dropped 5.1, tightening up reasoning. December was 5.2, a super divisive release that absolutely crushed benchmarks but split the user base. Skip to March 2026, 5.4 gave the AI direct access to your actual computer. And then bam! April 2026, 5.5 hits with a massive 1 million token context window. And finally, May 2026, GPT 5.5 Instant rolls out as the new, totally free default model for everybody. It's fast, and it's incredibly capable. Guys, that is 6 major releases in just 9 months. OpenAI's chief scientist, Jakub Bichaki, told reporters, the last 2 years have been surprisingly slow, gains will accelerate from here. I mean, let that sink in for a second. They just called the most rapid period of AI development in human history slow. All right, let's look at Chapter 3, what GPT 5.5 can do right now. So what does this absolute beast of a model actually do for us in 2026? Basically, think of it as a digital worker that never sleeps and never takes a coffee break. Take coding, for example. It doesn't just write snippets. It writes, reviews, and debugs entire code bases. Developers are reporting that stuff that used to take them days is now getting done in hours. Get this, 46% of all new code written in 2026 is AI-assisted, almost half. And remember that computer use API they teased in 5.4? Well, 5.5 completely refines it. You're not just chatting with it in a browser anymore. The model can literally take over and operate the software on your computer. It clicks around, fills out forms, navigates complex interfaces, switches between your apps completely autonomously. Add to that the 1 million token context window. GPT 5.5 can read and actually reason across an entire book, a massive legal contract, or a whole year's worth of your messy company emails in one single prompt. Combine that with multi-step agent tasks, and it's wild. You just hand it a messy, complicated project, it builds a plan, grabs the right tools, double-checks its own work, and pushes through the ambiguity until the job is done. You're no longer micromanaging, you're just reviewing the final product. The leap from GPT-4 in 2023 to this, it's not an upgrade, it's a completely different category of tool. And the data completely backs this up. GPT 5.5 runs at the exact same speed as 5.4, but at a dramatically higher level of intelligence. In benchmark tests, it completes the exact same tasks using way fewer tokens. So it's not just thinking smarter, it's actually thinking more efficiently. OpenAI didn't just guess on this either. They tested 5.5 with 200 trusted early access partners before rolling it out. But why the crazy rush? 6 major updates in under 9 months? It's because the competition is breathing down their necks. Claude, Gemini, Grok, every single major lab is pushing the envelope right now. That 6-week release cycle from OpenAI isn't just blind ambition. At this point, it's purely survival. Let's move to Chapter 4, the real difference. People are constantly asking, is GPT-5 actually better than GPT-4? Well, here is the honest truth. GPT-4 was a brilliant question answerer. You asked, it talked back, it was warm, it was chatty, it was super helpful. GPT-5, on the other hand, is a task completer. You give it a goal, it builds a plan, does the work, and hands you the results. Basically, GPT-4 felt like a really smart friend who would talk through your problems with you. GPT-5 feels like a hyper-capable colleague who just puts their head down and gets the work done. And honestly, some people just prefer the friend. That is exactly why the initial launch hurt so many people. But listen, GPT-5 isn't trying to be your buddy. It's trying to be the most productive professional tool in your arsenal. Whether you see that as an upgrade or a downgrade entirely depends on what you're actually using it for. But it's not all sunshine. Chapter 5, the dark side. GPT-5 is definitely not perfect. And the critics actually have some totally valid points here. First, overcaution. Since it launched, refusals have spiked. ChatGPT is turning down more harmless requests than ever, citing weird safety concerns on completely legitimate tasks. Then there's the shorter outputs. Coders are complaining that tasks which used to get full, meaty code blocks now just return skeleton code with lazy little comments saying, add your logic here. Users call it lazy. OpenAI calls it efficient. Whatever you call it, it's annoying. There's also a major reality gap. The glossy benchmark charts they show at launch do not always match real-world messy performance. Always, always test it yourself before you trust it. And finally, dependency risk. If your entire business workflow hinges on one single AI model, and that model changes literally overnight, like it did in August, your whole operation can completely break. GPT 5.5 is amazing, no doubt, but every powerful tool has its failure modes, and you need to know what they are. Finally, Chapter 6, the future of AI. OpenAI's long-term roadmap is getting super clear. GPT is evolving away from being a chatbot and is rapidly turning into an autonomous digital worker. By 2027, the model you use is probably going to be managing your calendar, running your errands, and talking to people on your behalf. And with a new release dropping every 6 weeks, the version of GPT-5 you use today is literally the worst version you will ever use. If you haven't jumped in yet, here is exactly how it breaks down. ChatGPT Free now uses GPT 5.5 Instant as the default, so just go try it. ChatGPT Plus is $20 a month and unlocks the deeper thinking mode, higher limits, and that crazy computer use API. And if you're a serious power user, ChatGPT Pro is $200 a month for absolute maximum output and early access to all the shiny new stuff. Think about this for a second. The very model that caused a literal global internet meltdown in August 2025 is now just the free, everyday default for everyone on the planet. That is how fast the AI space is moving right now. I'm your host, and this has been an explainer of the most important tools shaping our world in plain English. If this deep dive helped you actually make sense of what's going on, please make sure to like and subscribe to The Explainer. We're putting out one of these every single week. Oh, and drop a comment down below. Are you officially Team GPT-5 or do you honestly still miss GPT 4.0? Let's chat about it. I'll see you guys in the next one.